You're listening to Represent, the Queer Musical Theatre podcast. My name is Dr. James Lovelock, and I'm an academic and a huge musical theatre fan, exploring the representation of all things queer in the musical theatre industry. Today's guests are the iconic Gracie McGonigal and the extraordinary Ashley Goh, who met during a production of the new musical The Phase at the Vaults Festival. Since then, Gracie has wowed us with her performances as Lily in Fangirls at the lyric Hammersmith Theatre, and Ashley has imparted wisdom as Alex in Babies at the Other Palace. We discuss the importance of queer spaces, the joys of workshopping, and our hopes for the future of musical theatre. As always, you can follow us on your favourite podcast platform, and don't forget to share this episode on social media. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, my name is Gracie McGonigal and I use the pronouns she, her.
Hi, I'm Ashley Goh and I use the pronouns they, them.
Excellent. So in this series, I've been thinking particularly about what happens when we allow people to tell their own stories. And so hopefully today we're going to talk about some of the projects that you've done where that's happened, maybe some of the rooms that you've worked in which have felt particularly creative or safe or whatever that might be. And we'll see where we go. So I was going to ask you first of all about the musical you did together, which is The Phase.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about The Phase and your involvement with it and all of that sort of thing.
Well, I played Rowan, who is also a non-binary character, non-binary trans mask, I think specifically in the script. And yeah, it was we had 5 days to work on that. We did have 5 days to work on that.
It was a quick turnaround for The Phase.
It was so joyful for that short
I had the best time.
little run. Yeah. It was wonderful. And they cast it. I think it was social media, wasn't it?
Yeah, they did a reach out on social media.
Yeah.
But I knew the writers, or one of the writers, Meg McGrady. They were at Brit, my school, when I was there, a few years above me, and I thought they were so cool. I still think they're so cool. But at the time, I was like, "Yo, they're writing a musical." It's obviously just the coolest thing when you're like 16. And I remember getting roped in to do their scratch performance back in the day when we were all still sort of geeky 16 through 18-year-olds. And I actually played Sage in that.
Oh my gosh.
Randomly. I didn't end up playing Sage in the final version. I played Ava, the ally. We love to see it.
So good.
Which is kind of all you need to know about that character.
Hilarious though. You're just like,
Thank you.
ally.
But it's been through quite a long development, hasn't it, The Phase? It's been, and I guess most new musicals do go through that kind of long development. And you were involved, was it at the Vault Festival?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was when we did it. Yeah.
Oh, which was also great. Is that still running, the Vault Festival?
No. I think they're still looking for a location.
Yeah, they're looking for a new venue, I think.
That was last
I heard.
Oh, bring it back.
I know.
It's great, isn't it? Because I've seen so many new plays, new musicals there, and it's such a great place to try out.
Yeah.
Musicals are at the sort of stage of The Phase where you can kind of, you can try it out with a smaller audience in a more intimate space, and then hopefully that leads on to perhaps, further workshops or development or whatever comes next out of it. But we are very short of those kind of very sort of small scale, and particularly festivals as well, because that's great because you can just walk to something and then you can go to something else, and it's it was a really, or hopefully still is a really great festival.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like because I haven't heard about it in a couple of years, it might be on a little bit of a waiting for new stuff. But I know it's incredibly London centric to say, but we really don't have that accessible to us in London.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got to pay for everyone to go to Fringe if that's
do it. I know there's Camden Fringe is starting to build up. I'm seeing a lot more shows for Camden Fringe.
That's good.
But yeah, it is such a shame because, like, honestly, that was actually my first time at the Vaults when we did.
It was
the
mine
phase.
too.
And it was just such a joyous atmosphere. The place was wild and so creative, and it was wonderful seeing all of the advertisements for the different shows. And I'm a big fan of Edinburgh Fringe as well. So it was so joyous. And we were voted by the ushers as their favourite show.
That's nice.
Because that was when we went to the awards.
I remember that.
Yeah. So that was also really lovely because obviously they're seeing the show every night.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know that they enjoyed it. And it was...
We had such a good time. And that was also a great example of how you can make a space accessible on a budget.
Yeah, we had such a diverse cast.
Like, it's classic. Whenever I do any kind of podcast, I'm like, time to talk about disability.
It always should be something that we talk about if we're putting on any sort of production, really.
Yeah,
so what was it that made the phase particularly accessible or feel like a particularly safe space? What sort of processes did they go through to make everyone feel comfortable?
I mean, a lot of it was down to Meg, I think.
Yes.
With their background in accessibility and especially for theatre. I think they'd done a lot of work on that at college. But like just making sure that for every performance, even on a smaller scale, there was ear defenders available and fidget toys and things to just like, and sunglasses, things to help, you know, the average person coming to see the show find it just a much more pleasurable experience.
Yes.
And I think also a lot of people who didn't think they would gravitate towards having that once it was presented to them were like, oh, actually, these lights are really bright right now. I might just calm myself down with an earplug, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a whole cart of like accessibility things, so fidget toys, blankets, and things like that.
Yeah.
For every performance, not just we had a relaxed performance.
Yeah, we did. Didn't we?
Yeah. And again, we only had like 6 shows.
And that means the most when sometimes you do these long runs and there's one, and then maybe for one reason or another it doesn't happen, you know, and everyone's left there thinking like,
I mean, it's hard as a producer. I mean, I produced a concert a couple of years ago, and I made sure that we had a BSL interpreter for that. But it's hard, you know, on a tight budget. It's not easy to be able to do those things, but they're so important and should be so central, you know, to including people, including our audiences, including our actors and our creatives and everything like that. Yeah. I love the phase because there was kind of like a little moment where we had quite a lot of musicals that were set in girls' schools or set in, you know, and particularly girls' schools, because we'd had sort of, you know, Bear and everybody's talking about Jamie and, you know, a load of stories, which are great stories, but a load of stories which are, you know, mostly about men and boys in high school. And then we had the prom over in the US, which still hasn't come here, and I don't understand why.
I
but
know,
anyways.
right?
So confusing why that hasn't.
Right. Get me on that.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
When that casting call comes out.
Yeah, I'm not going to stay young forever. Guys.
But it was great because alongside the prom there was the phase was being developed at the same time, and then we had But I'm a Cheerleader as well, and Fangirls, which we'll get to in a bit as well,
And babies.
and babies,
Babies.
absolutely, of course, which is also and there's something I think that's really important about those high school musicals. I think for everybody, but particularly for those of us that are queer or who know queer people and, you know, have experienced either as a queer person ourselves or, you know, trying to navigate our friends through it. And I wondered how you found yourself reflected in those stories, or whether you had audience members who see themselves, you know, reflected in those stories, and what it is that makes those stories such great things to tell in the theatre.
What a good question.
Yes. I think, well, definitely with the phase, it was literally my life. It was so close to my life. I didn't come out at that time, but I was very aware of it, and it was a very similar friendship group. All of them are queer. Yeah. All my friendship group. I went to a girls' school as well, and it is such an interesting kind of situation to especially put like a trans masculine and non-binary character into. And yeah, it was just so truthful. And well, it was interesting because for me as an actor, it was a little bit hard because it was real. Yes. It was a little bit hard, and it was also a bit nerve-wracking to represent this correctly, even though I lived it. But I was like, this has to be like right. But it was honestly just joyous to see that, and like for my friends as well, my childhood friends, to come and see that as well and be like, God, that really was us.
Yes.
And I know to us it feels so common, but I really don't feel like I see it that often. And I also really appreciate how the phase really introduced the concept of actually protest within that show, because I feel like as a queer person, you're either going to know people who have been to protest or you're going to go to protest yourself. And I think it's so important. It was so great to see how that was integrated into the plot, because Meg does protest and is very, very aware of that stuff as well. And so it was great. And actually both of them, because Zoe is also a lawyer, so we have a lot of law stuff that was in one of the songs, right? You and
totally. It was nice to do something that felt so front-footed with that.
Yeah,
like the show didn't happen to the girls. Yeah. Like they came through it, took the reins and protest for what they believed in, and it ended up going well for them, which I think in our times of political unrest, it's good to sort of take a little bit of that with us, that we do have the power to change the things that we want to change.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's interesting because I was a secondary school teacher from 2000 until 2011.
Oh, right.
And I wasn't out. I mean, I was out in every other area of my life, but not as a teacher. In fact, I was told not to be.
Oh, wow.
Which was, I think, out of concern for me rather than anything else, but still. But there was no real inkling of very many kids that were queer at school. There was certainly no gay straight alliance or LGBTQ society or anything like that. And then once I left, I started to be a university lecturer. I started to hear about people who'd been to schools where actually there were these sorts of, if they weren't organised, then there was enough queer people who were out to be able to kind of band together, and I think also band together with other people who feel othered at school as well. I think that's another thing that came across really well in the phase.
Yes,
and that comes across in some of the other high school musicals. It's interesting to me that the phase is one of the few that has more than one queer character, because a lot of high school stories.
It's always one, isn't it?
Just the one, just one.
Just the one.
Just the only one.
And everyone's like, "We forgive you," which is like,
frankly, it's one too many.
We had one at school. We had a gay straight alliance, and it was great.
Oh, that's good. That's really good to know, because I think gay straight alliance is more common in the US and Canada from what I've heard.
It's also just kind of library club, which really does, I feel like, check out for a lot of people's like high school queer experiences.
Just being like the kind of quiet person, and there's another quiet person there, and you just kind of.
But it was nice. Like you know, I went to a very normal school, like a very London, but still a state school, not the poshest, but also not the poorest. Like it was a real middle of the road.
Yeah.
And actually, we had so many out gay people. It was random, but also like really pleased.
It makes me so happy that, even though schools are still a very difficult place to be queer, it makes me really happy that people are now in a space where they have other people around them and they're not going through it on their own. And again, you know, going back to the phase, it's one of the things that really stood out to me was that you had this group who had each other's backs. And yes, there were arguments and conflict, because there has to be in a story, otherwise there's nothing in the story. But yeah, that was, I really loved that. I saw the original version at the Other Palace Theatre, which is another theatre that does this sort of festival type thing from time to time.
Yeah, the studio.
Yeah, the studio in the Other Palace is great. And
so good for that.
Yeah, and so it's been lovely to watch that show develop over time. And, you know, and hopefully it keeps developing, because, you know, it takes a very long time to get a musical to its finished point, if it ever gets there, you know.
So
yeah, we kind of just keep evolving them for kind of all of time, don't we?
That's
really could,
yeah.
And that's often the strength of a show, is how it reinvents itself or chooses not to reinvent itself to reflect the kind of time period that we're in.
If you're interested in LGBTQ plus representation in musical theatre, check out our website www.queermusicals.com for lots more information about musicals with LGBTQ plus characters. I think that moves us quite nicely onto Fangirls, because
Oh.
Fangirls has had, I think, 3 different productions now. It's had 2 in Australia and one in the UK. And you were part of that, Gracie.
I was.
And
I
it was one of my favourite things that I've seen for a long time. And that was at the Lyric Hammersmith.
Yeah.
And I think that was also a very queer cast, very queer creative team. And although there were a couple of explicitly queer characters in there, but there was something about, again, the way that all of those characters banded together. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Fangirls and a little bit about, again, how you were involved in that?
Yeah. So Fangirls, as you say, we did it at the Lyric Hammersmith. I've been involved with that show for a couple of years because I also workshopped that back in the day. And once again, as a different character.
Oh, right.
I workshopped it as Brianna. Which was, but like, once again, you know, we don't always get it right the first time. You know, sometimes we have to look at things again and go, oh, I actually think maybe a different role would be more suited to me. But it was a fabulous show, and I met my partner on that gig as well, which is so nice. And we both did it 2 years later, which was cool. And it's just, I don't know, that was also another really sensitive space. But the show was awesome and kind of crazy when you say it out loud, because it's essentially follows this 14-year-old hyper fan of Harry, no relation to Harry Styles.
None.
Leave Harry Styles out of this. It's not him.
He's just British.
Yeah. And he's got swoopy hair. He's from Britain. And also he mysteriously doesn't have a surname, but it is in a band of 5. Which rhymes directly with One Direction. We've got Heartbreak Nation. Or in Australia, True Connection, which was fun. But essentially, I won't spoil it in case there's any future iterations in across the world. But some hilarious happenings happen with a sort of group of friends getting a little too close to a pop star.
Yes. Yeah.
But it was great fun. And another just like queer space. I don't know. I think I'm really lucky. I always end up in these queer shows. I don't know what it is. Like maybe it's because I have like, a certain vibe or like you know what I mean? Like it's really niche, but I find myself very fortunate being in those spaces and sharing those spaces, because in my experience, it's always the best place to be.
Yes.
And the happiest places to be. So yeah.
I was trying to work out what it is about queer spaces that is different to, I don't want to say straight spaces because that's like everywhere, but you know, what you know, there is something very particular about working. Not every time you work in a queer space, but working in a queer space, especially when it's quite balanced, when there's a mixture of genders, a mixture of people from different ethnic backgrounds, different abilities or whatever it might be. And
I think it's just an equitable space. Then I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, in that it just. When you've got enough different people balancing the void, no one feels uncomfortable because everybody's looking out for each other. And has their affinities with each other and sort of have a greater understanding. I find those queer spaces to be very perceptive of how we're feeling, how it's going.
Very open to other people's experiences, because with all those people of different cultures, they normally have to explain themselves and be the only person in the room to explain themselves. But in a room full of people who are used to that, it's just a genuinely a very safe space where you can kind of relax because you're not the only one on that. And you're also just interested in it because everyone's so interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Which is such a pro.
Yeah, and everyone's interested about other people being interesting, so it's not just like a brush off type of thing.
You don't have that thing of being like, oh no, what if everyone finds out? What if everyone finds out who I am? And everyone's like, okay, moving on.
So it's just great. It just feels nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's
I think things have changed with it as well, because I think people have always thought of musical theatre as being, I think, specifically a gay male space. Which I'm not sure how far I don't know. I mean, I've not been in very many kind of rehearsal rooms, but I don't know how far that's true. But certainly, gay men have historically had a lot more kind of ability or power to shape things. But now we're starting to get all sorts of people involved, and it changes the dynamics in the room. It changes, how comfortable people feel in the room, and it's really interesting talking to directors like people like Tanya Azevedo and who kind of cultivate these spaces. And I think that's really important for the future of this sort of work that we're talking about here. Yeah,
for sure. It often goes right down to the initial casting call out, I find. I feel like you always have a good...
Yes.
You can always tell like how it's going to be. A lot of people who auditioned for Fangirls said it was their favourite audition experience they'd ever had, regardless of booking the job or not.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people were like, oh, I auditioned for that. I had a great time. And actually, that's so nice, because that often isn't the case. I know even within myself, you miss a job at the last minute and you go, I hope it flops. No, you don't. You don't do that.
You just avoid everything about the show.
No, but you do have a little sadness in your heart, being sad that didn't go my way, or maybe you feel negatively towards it. But so many people were like, I had such a good time. And I feel like that is to do with that equitable space.
Yeah. And the flexibility, I feel, of the castings to kind of be open to being like, oh no, this is kind of what we're going for.
Yeah,
but
anyone
honestly,
for anything.
Yeah, broad strokes. It's adaptable around you, because I think that is also a really good way of getting very real and genuine stories, is to be open, oh yeah, maybe this is this ethnicity and this culture, but if you have something different and you want to bring to the table, that's fantastic. Which is also why I love new musicals, because they're so open to adapting things. Things change all the time, and during workshops and stuff like that.
Old-fashioned rhetoric as well about broken and unbroken voices, and soprano, alto, bass. All of those kind of things that are just so gendered.
Yeah, and it's not true.
It doesn't have to be like that. You can totally just, everybody sings together, and people just sing where their voice is comfortable, and you don't have to apply gender to being a bass.
I was thinking about Keisha Lewis in Hell's Kitchen in Broadway at the moment, who sings with this amazing bass voice.
Yeah.
And has been, I don't know whether this story is true. I'm going to say it's on a podcast now. But I believe Keisha Lewis wanted to experiment with how low her voice could go. So they were moving the keys around, and it ended in this really beautiful, beautiful place that I don't think any musical theatre writer would go, let's put it there and see what happens.
No, because we have this game of getting higher and higher all the time, don't we?
Oh my God.
Throw back to 20 years ago when Defying Gravity was the highest a song could go.
Yeah, and now it just keeps
and now
going.
Now the Notebook's here and we're all struggling.
please the acting.
You can still act out the high note, guys.
You can still do good notes and it start to be high.
That does make me think of your moment in Fangirls, though.
All things, though.
Back to me.
Why are you talking about that?
An amazing moment in Fangirls where your character is riffing and then realizes she is the only one that is riffing, and then has to kind of bring the riff back down gradually. At that moment, everybody I talk to who's been involved in it or has seen it mentions that moment, because it was just
that's lovely.
It was so beautifully controlled.
Thank you. You know what? It actually, when my character didn't really have any lines, I feel like I didn't say a single word in that, but I was often soloing.
Yes.
I felt like, I described my character in that show, Lily is her name, is the internet.
Yes.
Because she kind of just social comments on everything through kind of just loud noises.
Yes.
Like vocal kind of, I don't know, random vocals. But it was great fun. Hashtags, screams.
Yes.
But that was also just so fun to sort of play that teenage girl, and use my voice and how I've learnt to sort of sing with it now, and stretch myself into going into that sort of Ariana meets Tori Kelly meets riff-tastic place, and kind of love that they were able to give that to me. I mean, the person who played Lily originally, Aisha Madden, is so iconic. Like, she's unbelievable, amazing vocal artist. So it's just so great to sort of pass that to me and go like, oh my gosh, I get to just sort of do what I like now, question mark.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And it comes back to that new musicals thing as well, and to the creative team being open to things being done differently.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that was great as well, because there were so many moments where it was like, this is just a scene change here. And I'm like, guys, I've got an idea.
Incredible stuff. It's so funny. We're just talking like, we should reduce the high notes, but also,
yeah,
has an idea.
No, I know. It's a clever plan, so other people can't do it. Have me back, y'all.
True. It's so true, but I can't do that. I'll hang him out.
No, never get too comfortable, gang, because there's new grads every year singing The Notebook.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my Lord.
I know. It's too talented these days.
Oh, God, yeah.
Too many facilities available to them.
Me and Babies, literally, most of the cast were like graduated.
They were, weren't they?
Yeah.
Did you feel old for the first time?
Yes.
Because that's not a word I'd use to describe you.
Right?
You're a youthful person.
I'm a little baby.
You're
but
a
they
baby
were
little
more baby
bean.
than me and Babies.
Tell us about Babies.
Full of babies.
Yes, one little fun little segue. Hey, but yes, Babies is a show about 9-year 11s who have to take care of these realistic robot babies for a week. And I played Alex, who is a non-binary character in that, and it was really fun actually, because we had Alex be the only person who was actually fine with their life, because in our backstory for Alex, Alex came out the year before. They had a whole time to, come out, tell everyone, and be more comfortable with themselves. So they are the most chill about having these babies. Everyone else is at about like a 10 in terms of how these babies like really either excitement or like fear. And I'm kind of, I was playing someone who was, a rock to everyone else, which was honestly so joyous.
Yes.
Because the characters are all 16, and like when I was that age, I wasn't out at all. And it was just so nice to kind of have that person who's not panicked about their gender identity or their sexuality, and to just be kind of a reliable person that other characters kind of go to. And I like like saying wisdom stuff. I think there was a line in the second act where literally I think one of the characters is like, "You're so wise," and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. It appears I am.
Yeah. And it was just really nice to kind of not be panicked about it, and to just like show just, non-binary joy.
You were so good in Hot Dad.
Hot Dad. Hot Dad was also
Dad.
great. Hot Dad was great. Actually, yeah, that was the one time I did panic, and it's the fact that I'm being thrown into a musical number. Yeah.
I was gay panicking in Hot Dad. It was so good.
Yeah, Hot Dad is, that was amazing. That was, it's great to like be in a song called Hot Dad, which is a boy band parody song about how if you're a dad, everyone suddenly kind of finds you hot. And it's so great, and it was such a great one for the audience as well. On our last night, we had a standing ovation after Hot Dad.
Hooray!
Which was amazing.
I mean, it was that good.
And
it was so good.
Yeah, it's such a banging song. I think it's won an award before. I think it won the Styles and Drew Awards.
Did it?
That was right at the beginning of the development of Babies, and it deserves it.
Yeah. That's the one, when I'm streaming the Baby soundtrack, Hot Dad is on, turned up when it's giving you the warning, like, this is too loud. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. You have to live through Hot Dad. But yeah, and they were so open. I mean, like, the person who played Alex before me, H. Wiley, who also played Rowan in The Phase before me.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, of course.
Yeah.
It all
I just
back.
following them around. But yeah, they were so open. Martha Keelan, who wrote and directed Babies, she's so open to all different types of stories, and also like Alex's storyline actually really changed because we had so many, again, like different queer identities in that. We had two male gay characters, and then the other character, Grace, who had like a kind of a flirtation with Alex, and they really wanted Alex to kind of not have like a typical romance story with Grace. I think initially there was that, and then we changed it with every workshop, and then it became something that was kind of just like its own thing. Like it was kind of a bit more mature, and like it was kind of a getting together, but like it's also just like getting to know two people who are like also queer, and then like if we're both queer, then I guess we should like date. But no, yeah, it was interesting because we also had a typical romance with the two male gay characters as well, so it was fun to just see so many and to have those like different storylines reflected in Babies. And it also isn't what really the show is about, it's part of it, because all of the show is about growing up and maturing too fast, and seeing what that brings out in people, and just embracing youth and all of its silliness and fun. And so it was so lovely to have that be an element, and a strong element, but also there's so much more to the show as well, and there's so many different counteracting characters there it's fun. It was great. Yeah.
If you want to follow us on social media, you can use queer.musicals on Instagram or Facebook, or you can follow me at Dr. James Lovelock on Instagram.
One of the things I've been complaining about on the podcast so far is how few queer characters there are on the West End at the moment. Right. In fact, there are no protagonists.
Oh my
on the
gosh,
West End
none.
Since Why Am I So Single closed. But these conversations and actually some of the other stuff that I've seen recently is reminding me that actually there is a load of queer musicals or queer plays with music all over the place. I went and saw the Ministry of Lesbian Affairs at the Kiln Theatre, which is absolutely wonderful.
I didn't get to see it.
And the other one that I loved, which is a similar run, is Miss Myrtle's Garden, which is at the Bush Theatre.
I love the
Which
Bush
is a
Theatre.
play rather than a musical, but it has Michael Honker-Lindsay and Alanda Moore, various people who've done musical theatre, and music is a part of it as well. And I think it's great that those things are there. And the important thing for us now perhaps is trying to direct people to those shows if you're looking for queer characters or you're looking for queer storylines. Perhaps they're not in the West End at the moment, but they are there, and we just need to make sure that we're kind of sharing them with each other, I suppose.
Yeah, that is why I absolutely gravitate towards new musicals, because they are really trying to push for the diversity of different identities. And although that there is a push there, a lot of the stuff that is going on is stuff that is pre-existing, that they have to adapt. Things like that Miss Saigon thing where they changed it a lot. But it's also a lot of hoops to go through for things like that. And it's just like news. There's so many new shows, so many new writers. And we saw what happened, Operation Mincemeat, who they went.
That's what happens when you give a new show a chance, guys.
Yeah.
Like, it is crazy because we know there's so many startups. Like, I feel like I've seen a lot at the Bush recently that is queer and that is interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't see it transferring. I don't see it coming to these sort of bigger venues where there's more funding and there's more, advertising. So keep your eyes peeled, gang.
Yeah, absolutely keep your eyes peeled. It's where all the good stuff is happening in new places, and like you said, fringes and things like that. It's incredible. I mean, again, like things like Six was at the Fringe for ages before it became really big.
Worth mentioning places like the Southwark Playhouse,
Yes.
Head Theatre. And, there's a few, the other palaces we've mentioned as well. There's quite a few theatres that do quite a lot of queer shows, or shows that are not necessarily using pre-existing stories, and there's a lot more interesting stuff there. I was going to ask you about workshopping because, Ashley, I know you particularly love a workshop.
I do love a workshop. Workshops love me. So does the Other Palace Studio.
Yeah,
Oh
real.
my God, I've done 5 shows there.
That's amazing.
Ew.
And when Babies went to the Other Palace, my agent was like, hey, guess where Babies is going? And I was like, it's the Other Palace,
It's
isn't
always
it?
going to be the Other Palace. It's a
That was
classic.
main stage. That was fun.
But yeah, I was going to ask you about some of your favourite shows that you've workshopped that maybe you hope will have a future life, because actually if we talk about shows as they're in workshop, because there seems to be a thing that we don't really talk about things until we think they're ready. But actually, the reason why I think the phase was so successful is because it was always being talked about, and right from the very first time that they were putting it on scratch nights, or that they put it on at the Other Palace for a kind of reading or a workshop performance, people were talking about it and everyone's looking for it.
You're dead
And
on with that.
Yeah, so I would love to hear anything about any workshops that you've loved being involved with, and you know, just so we can look out for them.
Yes.
I did a workshop, my first ever workshop, which I'm still hoping will come back in some capacity, because it was from the team that did Unfortunate, if you know of Unfortunate.
Yes.
Did this show called Shipton that was super cool, and I have a direct love for it because it was about Mother Shipton, who's this Yorkshire witch, but who was known for being a disabled character. And a sort of about her life, and like this like really cool story about this real, you know, place that people visit all the time that I had no idea about. And the music's great. It's great, but I haven't heard about that in a long time. I hope that hasn't died. Hope they bring it back, because if you've seen any of Robin Grant, Tim Gilvin's stuff, that's really, really high camp and great.
Yeah.
It's always great fun.
I remember seeing Wolverine and
Yeah.
as well, and you know, that Fat Rascal Theatre have done
So
some wonderful
good.
things.
So good.
Unfortunate was a particular favourite
Yeah.
as well. I loved
So
Unfortunate.
funny that.
Oh my God.
So good.
Last year, near the end of last year, I did a show called Asian Pirate Musical, which was so joyous because it really was intersectionality with like both my Asian identity and queer identity as well. I think half of the characters were non-binary, because a lot of the writing crew, because it was made in a very unique way in that it had about 5 or 6 writers, both composers and writers together, and then working with a mix of like traditional Chinese, it was a mix of Chinese, whole like East Asian and Southeast Asian music, from like kind of futuristic and traditional, and a lot of the people on there were queer as well, and so a lot of the characters were like that, like 3 characters were from the future. Oh, I should say the plot, because the plot's wild. So a bunch of Asian pirates from different time periods all get zapped onto one ship and have to deal with each other, and also the fact that the planet is dying from global warming.
I love it.
Right.
Get me a ticket.
Wilding, and also keep an eye on that, because it's something is happening for
Excellent.
that. That should be coming out literally next month.
Yeah.
Something very exciting.
Ooh.
But it was so lovely. It was just really nice to hang out with a bunch of people who had similar cultures to mine, but also like different. Like some people had, you know, like they grew up in Thailand, but then like worked in Singapore for a bit, and then like came to the UK, and like a whole bunch of mix of different people, and some people who, you know, just grew up in the UK, but they were Asian, you know, and or America, and like it was just really interesting to see our similarities, differences, what we could bring, and also like there's a great song in the show called "Pass the Bok Choy," which is where all the characters are kind of cooking together, and they're socializing, and they kind of like settle themselves, and it was just really, it was really lovely to also have that within the rehearsing of the show. And I'd done several workshops of that, and they were again like so open to feedback and in changing things like plot lines or characters and driven stuff. But it was just lovely. And I really, really hope it gets something, because that's a show that could really be so nice for the big budget. It was like the ship, there's a huge monster in it. And also the music as well is so atmospheric. There's some really great, like kind of scary almost things. And it would also be lovely with the full music as well. Because they had, I think, like a lot of different instruments were used that aren't usually heard on the West End or on Broadway. And it was so cool. It's so cool.
That's always a big thing about workshopping is everybody sat there and like, and then there'll be this mega guitar riff, just like imagine it. And then that'll happen. I did a cool one this year for Weird, which is the new Nick Butcher musical who wrote The Little Big Things, which I also got fortunate enough to do.
Yes.
And that's so cool. I don't have any attachment to it at the moment, but I know they're getting a small run, I think I want to say Plymouth. I might be wrong. But they've definitely got a little showing a short showing in a big theatre in January. But that one is the Scottish play, brackets, Macbeth, we're not in a theatre. But all the world's a stage. Retelling from the sort of witch's point of view. And that's very like pop. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But one of the most star-studded workshops I've ever done. Like, what do you mean? Like, Tosh is in it. John Luke Gage is in it.
Oh, wow.
It was fabulous.
Dang.
Jess Lee was there. Lucy Jones was there. I was shocked because it's so good. Like, it's fabulous. Like, it was great. I'm so excited to see what happens with that, because every song's an earworm. If there's one thing that they can do, it's a hook. And that was great fun. I had great fun workshopping that. So hopefully we see more from Weird.
Yeah, and great as well that Soho Place has opened, and
yes,
and you know that's because there's that size theatre we don't have very many of in this country.
Yeah,
or we do in the country, but not in London. And so one of the problems for new musicals has been if you do something at the Other Palace, and even if you do something on the Other Palace main stage, it's a massive jump then to go to the next biggest theatre, because there's so few. Yeah. And actually our smaller theatres at the moment, I guess Operation Mincemeat is in the Fortune Theatre, which is probably one of the smaller theatres. The Arts Theatre tends to have fairly long-running things in now, so it's quite difficult.
It's hard to get that entry. Yeah, I remember in lockdown everyone was talking about the queues into these theatres. You know, that I don't know, I'm not a producer, but the sort of 3 or 4, 5 plus, you know, shows that are queuing up to go in each space. You know, there's so many shows that are promised to transfer, and you know, and it feels like we're all twiddling our thumbs, like, where are they coming? Where's it going to be? You know, we haven't got the spaces. But I love Soho Place. I loved working there. So accessible. Tick, tick, tick. Nika Burns, you outdid yourself with that. Excellent. It's great, and that was such a cool place for the Little Big Things to go. And I'm so sad we haven't seen more from that. Because I still get messages literally on a daily basis from people being like, that show meant so much to me. There's a few fans of that show that contact me all the time to share just about their lives and how much it still impacts them. So I'm hoping at some point we'll see more from that, because those stories need to be told.
This series of Represent has been recorded at the Content is Queen studio in Somerset House. Content is Queen is a podcast agency and community made up of women, people of colour and LGBTQIA+ people who wish to connect, create and collaborate using audio and podcasting. For more information, go to contentisqueen.org.
It seems to be a bit of a trend at the moment that those musicals which are maybe original stories or stories that haven't been told in other mediums particularly a lot before. I'm thinking of Why Am I So Single as well. It had a 4 or 5 month run and was so important to some
robbed.
Saw it, and then, you know, and we think, okay, well, where does this go next? And what other ways are there for people to experience this? I mean, one of the things I've been thinking a little bit about is the idea of archiving, and while it's not the same to have videos, that makes me sound like I'm from the 1980s.
No.
No, say videos.
To film.
We're absolutely
They got the camcorder out.
Rolling.
What do I mean? But, you know, archive footage and
Yeah.
digital footage of shows, because there are people either who see the show once and need to keep seeing that story, you know, to heal something perhaps, or to see themselves represented. And then there's people that just don't have access to some of these shows because they're priced out of it. And it's really big, for me, is a big conundrum at the moment, is how can we make some of these shows accessible to people who, you know, who aren't able to travel for whatever reason.
No, 100%. Like the National Theatre streaming service is great, but that is subscription based, you know, which is also in itself a difficult thing, because we've all got so many streaming. We've all got, you know, it's now statistically, isn't it more expensive than cable TV to have all the different streaming platforms? But I mean, that's exactly how you do a classy recording of a show. And a lot of those recordings I find so successful because it feels like you're there. It feels like you're on stage with them, which is great. But as we know, not all shows are getting the same treatment.
I mean, I know that there's probably things around rights and payments and all that kind of thing, but I'm sure it's not insurmountable. But yes, and you know, and again, it's also thinking about how do you get the resources out there. So if people want to know more about the phase, where do they go? Where do they go to see that? If, you know, we've been talking about other shows here, how do people experience those things?
It's hard. It's a very boring one, but it's because it all comes down to sort of equity rules.
Yes.
You know, in terms of when you film something, does that become a film?
Yes. Yeah.
Or does it become archival footage? All of this is so difficult to differentiate.
Yes.
You know, because as much as everyone wants everything to be online and available, especially to young people who want to get involved, you know.
People still need to be paid for it.
Yeah, it's like, suddenly it's like, oh, no worries, guys, we've just filmed this performance. It's like, great, will you use that for all of time?
Yeah.
Where's this going? You know, will I? You know, it's hard because like suddenly there's a lot of stuff that I still don't understand with like point systems and stuff when you do like a cast album or recording something on stage, and it's like, you get 3 points of that. I'm like, what's a point? What's a point? Like of what? Of what percentage? Of how many points are there in total? There's infinite points. It's like
when I get enough, can I send off for a toy?
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's totally that kind of thing. It's very. They don't teach you that at drama school.
Yeah, they don't teach you the law stuff.
They don't teach you the law stuff.
They do not.
No.
That was the best piece of advice I got was like look up law stuff, look up what equity is actually doing.
Yeah.
Because there's so much stuff
There's
that's
loads.
involved, and then like I feel like especially with like contracts. Oh my god. Yeah.
Having the contract not be a mystery to you is a big pro for a young performer, especially if you were like me and sort of
sign everything.
Yeah,
right.
back in the day.
I'm so excited. Yeah, literally.
Because
and now I'm like,
I didn't do 3 years of drama training. So no, of course not.
Yes, we both didn't.
We're niche for that.
Yeah,
most people do. But yeah, when we both sort of came out in the industry, we were like, can I work for £4.50 to learn like 3,000 shows? And you know what I mean? Like
it's one of those industries that works so much on goodwill, isn't it?
Yeah.
And but it can't, because it's what people use to live on. You know?
And now I'm a big adult who has to pay rent.
Oh,
I'm not. I know. But no, it's you have to look after yourselves from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got one more question for you, and it's this, I've asked this question to everybody: is what sort of stories would you like to see being told in the future in musical theatre?
Mine's still quite obvious because there are still like no disabled people in. Well, there are, but they're secretly disabled people / not visible / not working.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a lot more disabled characters, protagonists, people at the sort of front of their story.
Yes.
And and also a lot of disabled characters playing traditionally non-disabled roles. I think that's an important one, because there is a space in new theatre and new work, but I think something that would help shape the way we see a quarter of the population is seeing disabled people in our favourite characters that we know and love currently. Because currently, other than, I guess, Fangirls, I haven't done anything that's existed before.
No.
You haven't. That surprises me.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's probably to do with that.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I've not done anything long running.
No, I agree. I think that's a real. I mean, another episode which will already be out by the time this one is. I interviewed Beth Hinton Lever.
Yes.
And Chris Bush, and we were speaking about how difficult it is for some disabled people to even access the theatre as a building, and
Yeah.
to even get on stage and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work to be done there.
It's like so much. It's actually crazy. Like there's so much work to be done. But also, there's work being done.
Yes.
But yeah, just hoping for a bit more of it. Is the headline.
And more quickly. Thank
Yes.
you, please.
Thank you, please.
Well funded. Gosh, yeah, absolutely. That double down on that, and of like different cultures as well, both like cultures with like ethnicity and where you come from, as well as gender identities and queerness. And just, more than one, as we've been talking about, more than one character. There's so much to explore. For me, I was saying this to all my friends at work, but I'm a mixed race, Asian, non-binary, pansexual. And that's just one person. If I was just one person to show, that's so much to unpack. Guys, you need more than one one of these characters in there. Because it is just so interesting. I speak to so many fascinating people that are not able to show parts of their identities on stage ever at all. I've never ever seen any castings for actually really Chinese characters, let alone Singaporean, which is what I am specifically. Southeast Asia, I feel like people don't actually know what that is. Actually, I didn't know what it was for the longest time. I didn't realize, because people just talked about Asia, East Asia, South Asia, but they don't talk about Southeast, like Malaysia, Thailand. The biggest movie that I saw where it was kind of about Singapore was Crazy Rich Asians. That was the first one where I was like, it wasn't just like a random place that they're visiting. It was like, actually, this is Singapore culture. And that, as you know, it has some imperfections, but it was still so joyous. When my mum watched it, she cried within the first 5 minutes. So it really just don't be afraid. I feel like people are so worried about showing things wrong that they don't even try. And I think that just having the people in the room, being open to discussion, being open to changing things, it's just brilliant. And so I would just love more culture and more things, because it's just exciting. I feel like people are scared of that, and are scared that audiences won't like it. But if the more audiences see it, the more there are out there, the more people will be like, oh, this isn't scary, it's just other people. It's other cultures, but we all experience the same emotions, the same conflicts. Really. So yeah, I would just love more.
Yeah, more. Absolutely.
More, please. Now, please.
I think also, for anyone who, as an individual, goes to the theatre, I think it's always worth pushing yourself to go and see things you wouldn't necessarily gravitate towards as well. I think that's a really important. That's been, as a older person, that's been something that I've learned, I think, over the last decade or so, is that actually, yes, I can go and see all of the plays that have white gay people in. Hurrah! But actually, oh my goodness, the amount that I've learned from seeing shows like Choir Boy or Strange Loop or a wonderful show called Interstate, which is in the US, which I
yes,
love
I was
so
told about
much.
that. Yeah.
And that's really important as well. So
did you see Stormzy's quote on the ballet shoes?
I didn't.
It was hilarious, and I'm also obsessed, and that's the epitome of it. Essentially, he went with 4 of his male friends from his friend group, and they 3 of which had never been to the theatre before, and they were like, okay, let's just go and see what's on at the National, and they ended up watching the ballet shoes, and they had like the best time. And like he wrote like it's like sickest thing I've ever seen, or something really like silly like that. But it was just like, well, that's you know, that's family theatre. That's I workshopped the ballet shoes, and I thought it was just the best, like most heartwarming.
One of my favourite stories. I love it.
Just beautiful. Would you imagine Stormzy sat there in the audience? Probably not. And yet there he went.
Yeah.
And so should we all.
Absolutely.
See something that you don't think you'll like, 'cause it might surprise you.
Be more Stormzy.
Be more Stormzy.
Be more Stormzy. That'll be the title of this.
Be more Stormzy.
That's great. Thank you so much, Gracie and Ashley, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody at home, for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Represent, the Queer Musical Theatre podcast. The research for this series is funded by the British Academy Early Career Researchers Network Seed Fund and supported by Sheffield Hallam University. The episodes were recorded at the Content is Queen podcast studios at the Makerversity at Somerset House. For more information, go to contentisqueen.org. In next week's episode, we speak to West End leading man Juxi Yong and West End leading lady Jo Foster about their recent performances in Foreplay at the King's Head Theatre and their roles leading Your Lie in April and Why Am I So Single, respectively. See you then.